All right, guys, we're here on a beautiful day here in June. Our first show of 19. Wow. What a great day to shoot. You got any idea where we're at today, Robbie boy?
We're at somebody's house, hopefully for breakfast.
Oh, I don't know about breakfast, but we got a great guest today and a great topic.
Outstanding.
And I just thought for you guys that's never seen Goose in the wild.
What?
We do three things.
What?
We educate,
We do?
we inform, and we entertain.
I just hang out with my friends.
Say what?
But the main thing, we showcase local talent.
Absolutely.
And we got a great guest today.
Oh, I'm excited.
So we're going to go inside and we're going to find out what the topic is. Here
I can
we
be my
go.
Vanna White.
Here we go. Here we go. You notice the truck is red and it's a Ford? Can't beat that. Here we go. All right, guys, we're indoors now, and it's not as bright in here, so we're going to remove the shades and
I already did.
and introduce our guest. And a good man he is. This is Raymond Gibby. Welcome to our show, man.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate
for coming.
you.
I appreciate you.
And our first question, I think our viewers need to know, how does an Arkansanian, that's a guy from Arkansas,
Thank you.
get here to Utah and do what you do?
Well, I had a foundry in Arkansas, but I got too busy, so I actually came back home to Utah because I used to live here about 14 years ago. I moved back a couple years ago, but I actually apprenticed at an art foundry in Springville.
Oh,
Yep, and so I worked there for about 6 years and learned the foundry trade and learned how to be a professional artist there. And so I actually came back home to Utah.
Well, there's the key word today, guys. There's our topic. It starts with an A. You mentioned being an artist.
Well, there you go.
What kind of artist? Are we talking about a painter?
I have painted, but I specialize mostly in bronze sculpture.
Bronze sculpture.
what's a foundry?
A foundry is any place that melts metal down for the purpose of casting it into a new shape.
Ooh.
And so specifically, I specialize in being able to cast bronze into shapes that look like things, like animals, people, things like that.
Do you have to have an artistic skill to do what you do?
That's putting me on the spot for me to say that I have
That's
an
it.
artistic skill.
That's the ideal.
Well,
And
Goose, think about it. You don't want just a blob of bronze. It's got to have, I would think you'd have to have some skill.
Let's just say collectors have all sorts of artistic taste, and some happen to like what I do.
so was you good in school?
I spent every minute I could in the art room if I could.
Today, we're going to draw this picture of a bucking bronco.
Yeah, I would take my time during lunch, before school. I had a TA class where I was the teacher's aide in art class. So every opportunity I could, that's where I went. That's one that I did.
Holy
Oh,
crud.
now look at that. See?
Holy crud.
See?
I do
It
more like
looks like
stick
something,
figures.
See, you're not run of the mill. You're not run of the mill. Look at that,
Wow.
guys. So if you think you've got a talent like that, have they got an opportunity to be a sculptor?
There's always the opportunity. They just need to be smart about it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Goose. I call this Mr. Happy. What do you think?
I know places where that would sell.
How sad is that?
Wow. Now that isn't bronze, is it, Ray?
No, this is clay.
I found this
and-
laying over there. I just started squeezing it.
Yeah, that looks like something you'd see on Gumby or something like that.
But he's happy.
I know you've got several pieces here in your shop.
Yep.
So we'd like you to take a look at those now and kind of explain maybe some challenges you had with each piece and go from there.
Okay, well,
bronze.
yeah, this is bronze. So at one point this was in clay, and with a piece like this, because it's very thin legs, it wouldn't be able to hold up the weight of the clay. So it usually has some sort of a separate armature made out of steel that comes externally from the base and goes into the sculpture in order to hold up the structure.
While you're working on it?
Yeah. So essentially, I make a steel armature on the inside, steel skeleton, and then build it out from there. And the challenge that a sculptor has is that he needs to know from the inside out what he's working with. He doesn't just look on the outside surface. So in other words, you have to start with the skeleton and then think in terms of the muscle structure, and then the fur. In this case, the fur that would be on the outside. If it's a human, you got to think in terms of how the clothes would drape over the anatomy. And so we're always thinking in terms of inside out when it comes to actually making it. And the name of this piece, by the way, is Show of Strength, by the way.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
So does a customer contact you and say, I would like this, or discusses his idea with you, and then you start putting it together in your head, and then you go to clay?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll have a customer call me up and say, I really like these kind of whatever subject matter. I like a bear or whatever. And I want him to do something kind of like this. And so I will go and make maybe 5 sketches and say which one of these is closest to your thoughts on it. And he'll narrow it down. And I'll make any kind of changes that I feel needs to be made based on our discussion, and begin with a sketch that helps guide me through the rest of the process.
Nice.
Well, you mentioned bear. You got another piece over here.
Yeah, this is, now what I like to do is I like to sculpt people using animals, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? but the true nature of an artist is that he thinks in terms of symbols. And so what I've figured out is that animals have a character about them, and I can see their character in the lives of people.
Speaking of characters, there's one right there.
I was thinking you were modeled after
right
an
there's
animal.
a character.
In this particular piece, what I actually did is I sculpted my kids. Not all of my kids, it's more the nature of my kids. And the name of this piece is Room for One More. If you ever yell ice cream around kids, what do? They all kind of bunch together and try and be the first one to get it, right? Well, anyway, on this piece, the bears are all crowded together because they want the best fishing spot. And this guy, without any kind of thought as to what he's doing, has just casually pushed the other 3 out of the way. He doesn't care about what he's done, he just wants the fish. And so the name of the piece is Room for One More. There's always room for one more when you're the biggest kid.
Ooh.
Right?
This reminds me of Pete looking at you and I just like.
Yeah.
And then here on the back, he's in the back.
Really?
He's sitting there with his
I didn't
another
see him
fish.
back there.
Yeah.
Look at that. Wow. Especially there, he's got a salmon on his lap.
Well, he's sitting there trying to think if there's one more that he could fit into his stomach at that point.
Gotcha.
You know, I was just thinking, every show we talk about food, and by the time we get done filming a show, I go home and I'm just.
And you're hangry.
Oh my gosh.
Hangry.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Let's go over to this next piece you got, Ray.
Okay. So I'm thinking maybe
Oh, the owl.
that could fit.
Oh, hey.
Right there.
Hey.
What do you think of that?
What up with that? What up with
I
that?
like it.
No
I
respect.
like it.
So one thing I like to do is try and capture nature just in its beauty, the way God intended it. And there's very few things that has a smarter and more intimidating look than an owl. So I actually used to see, when I lived in Arkansas, a lot of great horned owls all the time. So I just wanted to capture that look when they stare at you right in the face in this piece. And I have the wings here kind of framing his that look. I want you to see the patina on this thing, though. This is a lot of effort was put into making this.
What's
What's patina?
Patina is the outside color of a bronze. So in other words, it's whatever chemicals are used in order to be able to color the bronze, be it an acid or a dye.
That's
or,
how they
or
color
pigment.
it?
Yeah.
Oh. Because I think of bronze, I think of shiny,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it being brown.
So that's not paint, that's chemicalized.
This is different chemicals and pigments and so forth that have been put on usually with a lot of heat from a torch in order to heat it up enough to get it to stick.
I'd like to see that.
Now, will we see that later?
Well, I hope we have the opportunity. That'd be
Okay.
great.
You don't do that in this garage, though, right?
No, the kids get nervous. So
Oh,
Daddy with flame would scare me, yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
actually, I would get nervous.
They don't let me use sharp implements, so I feel you.
Can you believe the detail there, Travis, on the face? Look at that.
So this one's called Night Vision.
Night vision.
Yeah.
I like it. Now we're going to go to this beautiful piece, the young gal holding the rabbit. What's up with that?
Well, like I've said before, everything comes from inspiration when you're an artist, and I became inspired one day when I was looking through some old photographs, and I found an image of my second oldest daughter when she was about this size, and she was in her cowboy boots, and she was on the ground picking something up. I didn't see what it was, but I thought it'd be really cute to put a rabbit in her hand. And the name of this sculpture is Love at First Sight. And that got me thinking about some different things. This is kind of a sentimental piece, obviously, because it's my daughter, but this is not actually my first daughter's face. This is my youngest daughter, because by the time I actually sculpted this, my oldest daughter was about 13 years old. So too big. But then she had short hair, so I had to go to the next daughter in order to be able to get the braids in the hair. So this is a compilation of three of my daughters.
And this started off clay.
This started off as clay, yeah.
So you sculpted it first and wow,
Yep.
you got skill.
Well, I hope so. Thank you very much.
Well, guys, as you can see, this man is very talented. So we're going to go to our first break here, Robbie boy, and I remember you mentioned food.
Yep, you got me thinking it.
And we don't want you getting hangry.
Maybe that's what she's thinking.
Really? So we're going to take a break, and you go get you some granola.
I'm going for apple with almond butter.
What do you like, Ray?
I like rabbit.
Oh, rabbit. All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Don't you worry about what they say about you, Mr. Happy. You are truly art.
Okay, guys, we're back. Hopefully you got something good to eat. And it's in the back part of the shop here, and it's much brighter, right? And so I'm going to put my shades back on, and now we're going to go to the sketches
Okay, yep.
right here.
Okay, yep. So in order to go through the process of making a bronze sculpture, it starts off, first of all, mentally, and then I have to be able to get it down on some way to show the customer. And that's the easiest and fastest way to do it is to do a quick sketch. This obviously isn't meant to be a finished piece of art. It's just to give them an idea of what it's going to look like when it's full-sized. And so in this case, I've done a quick sketch. The customer wanted a gunfighter. I posed for it myself and drew what I thought would be a good pose.
Yeah, sure you did. Yeah, sure you did.
And then I posed for this one afterward. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the one that I had Goose pose for.
Okay, thanks, baby. I'm a little grizzly.
No, so
You say, he says quick sketch. You know what it'd take for me to get anywhere?
I know. I
incredible.
know.
so anyway, the customers in both cases agreed to have these sketches done for their piece. So from the sketch, I have to turn it into something that's three-dimensional. And like I mentioned before, it needs to be something that's working from the inside out. And the way I do that is with a steel armature. And so we saw earlier the sculpture of my daughters in bronze, but this was the original clay. And you'll notice that in the original bronze, there was not this piece of steel here. This actually comes up from the base to hold the thing steady and solid while I'm working with it. This comes in here, and I have a skeleton of a small person inside there.
So that's is called the armature.
That's the armature, yeah.
Booyah.
Yep, there you go. And the armature literally goes through her arms to be able to hold up the bunny there.
Oh,
Get it? Armature.
I got it.
Armature. See,
No,
little pun there.
That was my joke.
Okay. I beat
nice
you.
deal.
Very good,
I
thanks.
beat you.
Ray, what's the deal with the bucket of clay here in your wife's crock pot?
The way I get all that clay
Don't
onto
let
the...
Mr. Happy see that.
Yeah. Well, he might get jealous, right?
That's
You
right.
might learn the truth.
So, for different effects, right now the clay is very solid, and this is what I could use to push onto the armature and build it up and give it strength.
So what keeps it from drying out?
Well, this is an oil-based clay, and it never dries.
Never.
In fact, this clay has probably been part of probably 20 or so different sculptures previously.
You reuse it.
I do, yep.
So, okay, so when you're all done, you take the clay and throw it back in the pot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So here's a good example of that. These are all past sculptures that made the pot.
Is that right?
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
So we got a part of a bear there and part of a fox there.
Oh, is that a fox?
Yeah.
Looks like an iguana.
Yeah, well,
What world do you live in, dude?
it has potential to be an iguana.
All right.
And then when it's done with the at the foundry, you see here, this is a finished bronze, and you
There's
can
this-
compare the sketch to the finished bronze and see how close I got.
This is Brigham Young's bodyguard.
The customer wanted a gunfighter, and I like to put my own personality into a piece whenever I can. So I asked permission. I said, if you're going to do a gunfighter, you got to do the best one that's ever lived, and that's Porter Rockwell.
Rockwell.
And so I ran it by him, and he says, yep, you can do something that's inspired by Porter Rockwell. And so here he is. Judge whether I did a good job or
Wow,
not.
it came out just like it. I mean,
Yep.
the face and everything was identical.
There's a few differences. There's the sash is going this way, and on this one it's going that way, and that was a choice on my part. This sash is not actually a sash; it's a strap for a gun. Porter Rockwell developed the concept of using a sawed-off shotgun, and he would hide it underneath his duster coat here.
Right.
He'd hide it under there, and when he needed to, he'd just whip the thing out.
So if there was more than one he had to shoot?
Well, yeah,
used
I
the
mean,
shot-
he
sawed-off
usually
shotgun.
had 3 or 4 different guns on him at one time. And so he'd whip that thing out, and I found out that Bonnie and Clyde later mimicked that skill of using the sawed-off shotguns they'd whip out underneath their under their coats like that.
Yeah.
You're wearing. I know why you're wearing that.
Why's that?
Because you're all things baseball.
Oh, love it.
But I noticed you're wearing like a fancy Eagles. Are you an Eagles fan? What's the deal on that?
I became an Eagles fan last year.
Because you said you're from Arkansas. That's why I'm trying to.
That's right. I became an Eagles fan last year when they asked me to sculpt their new monument that's out in front of the Lincoln Financial Stadium.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Contacted you.
Technically, it was Bud Light.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was Bud Light contacted me to be able to do something for the Eagles as a gift for winning the Super Bowl last year. So,
How cool is that?
yep.
And they gave you a jersey?
And I don't drink, so I thought that was kind of funny.
And they gave you a. Wow, so the Eagles gave you that jersey.
Well, this was the jersey for their quarterback, not Nick Foles. This was Wentz. They gave me his jersey. Apparently, Foles needed his. I don't know, but they gave this to me so that I would have the exact seams and the exact style to be able to sculpt from. That's what we call reference material.
Oh.
Right. So I actually I don't have it anymore. I had to give back everything else except for the jersey. They let me keep the jersey.
Okay, guys, we're back in the south part of the shop, and it's a little darker in this corner, so the shades will come back off. And we're going to talk about this piece right here.
Okay, so you talked to me about how I possibly could have got the job from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
Again, I'm not exactly sure, other than SEO on the internet tends to bring up your name from time to time if you've done a good job of getting the word out there on the internet.
All right.
And I suspect that because of my work doing football trophies for the NCAA, that maybe that's how they found me. That's the only thing I can figure out. So this here is one of those trophies. In fact, it was the first one I ever did. And this is the Brandon Burlsworth trophy. What he did, the trophy is actually because he was a walk-on for the Razorbacks.
That's what I was going to ask. Why him?
Yeah, he was a walk-on.
All right.
And while
Okay.
he was playing college football, he and his brother got the idea, hey, if I ever make it into the NFL, I want to start a foundation that helps underprivileged kids like we were. Because they came from a home where there was no father, and where the mother did everything to sacrifice in order to be able to get him to play football. So they wanted to start the Burlsworth Foundation. Well, he got drafted to the Colts. He was going to be a starter for the Colts his rookie year.
Wow.
And he went home to get his things and to go to church with his mom one more time before he moved up to Indianapolis, and got hit by a tractor trailer and died.
Oh,
Holy smoke.
didn't see that coming.
No,
Wow.
it was. And there's actually a movie about it called Greater, and I did some of the props for that movie. If you get a chance, you should go watch it. And they talk about how this all happened, but his life story and all the people that he inspired has been named the second most important collegiate trophy after the Heisman, because it's the most superior walk-on in the NCAA.
Good on them for keeping it going.
So for me, it's personally motivating, because that's kind of how I felt. I didn't have any kind of, when I started working at the art foundry, that was making $8 an hour and had no future, I thought. And I didn't have any money. And I didn't have someone who gave me an art name. Some people are fortunate enough to have that passed down from from a father to a son, and then that name is established. So I had to start at the very bottom and prove myself over the years that I actually belong in this industry.
Well,
And I give credit to my parents for their support and so forth, getting me through all that.
that's something else. So just go get you something that'll make you feel good. We'll be back in a minute. Now you talked about things being of value, right? And that means a lot to you, the football player. Well, this was given to me by a friend, so this means a lot to me.
Wow, okay.
That's bronze.
Is that real bronze?
No,
No.
that's okay, because it came from your friend.
All right. That's a
Oh.
good point. I like that.
Yeah, it's not about the money or anything like that. It's about what it means to you.
All right. We've been looking at a bunch of small pieces that you've done. Have you done anything big?
I've done a few things that are big. I'm getting a little too old to do big things, but I still like doing them. I used to like to watch boxing, and so this is my boxer. This is Ready to Rumble. That's the name of this piece here.
Wow.
And he's caught this fish down here on the ground, and of course during the salmon run, all the bears want each other's fish, and so this bear, he stood up and he says, "I'm not going to let go of that so easy, and so I'm ready to rumble. I'm ready to take you on. If you mess with me or my fish, you're going to get it." So that's what this piece is here.
It's clay.
Now, this is clay.
This is clay.
What's
Yep.
underneath the clay?
So with a piece this big, it would be impractical to have so much clay, because it'd be really heavy. And so I actually have a foam carving under there.
So you had to sculpt it first, so you made a big foam blob and then sculpted it?
Yeah, so you start with the armature, and then there's foam if you need the foam, and then clay over the top of the foam.
There's the armature, Travis.
Yeah.
There it is.
Good eye, Goose.
Yep.
There's the armature.
Going in from the outside.
Oh, there's foam coming.
Last thing I want is for this thing to fall on me while I'm working on it.
Oh, I don't blame you. Yeah.
It's intimidating.
Here's a word I don't use much because it's overused now, but this is awesome.
Ooh.
My sister's going to go, "Brother, you didn't use that term, did you?" I don't use it that often because it's overused. There's one other detail I just noticed.
What?
I want to know what's up with the happy guy right here.
He doesn't look too happy. What's he doing down there?
Well, siesta.
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 He's also known as Senior Happy.
I know you want to know this, because we do, right, Robbie?
Absolutely.
Okay, we talked about the detail and seen a lot of your pieces and all this and that.
Some great pieces.
Thank you.
But we need to know a little bit about the business aspect.
Okay. This is what I do for a living. I've done it for about 20 years now.
So this ain't a hobby.
Not for me, no. Some people it is, and I congratulate them, but for me, I've got mouths to feed, and so I work very hard at the business aspect of it. And unfortunately, it makes it so I don't get to sculpt as much as I want to, because I'm out there trying to get the work out there. And the way I do that is I've got 6 galleries across the country that I work with. I consign my work to them, and then they sell it, and then I get a commission off of everything that they sell. And then the other way I do it is I have my website, gibbybronze.com, and I have magazines that I advertise through. And the hope is to be able to get as many people coming to me as possible. And that way I can work with them, I can give them pieces that they have in their mind, and I can work with them to make the pieces, or hopefully they'll look at something that I already have, and by doing that they'll hopefully want to have it in their home.
So do you have to be wealthy to buy your pieces?
I would say not. I would say you need to have a love of art. It's kind of like they say in the New Testament. It's got to be a little bit of that pearl of great price concept.
Oh.
If you find the one piece that provides inspiration, you'll do what you need to get it. Okay? And I don't like to think in terms of how much a bronze or a piece of artwork costs. I like to think in terms of what value it brings to your life. And keep in mind, any money that I bring in from an art sale, I'll spend next week. But that person who buys a piece of art gets to keep that for the rest of their life and even pass it down to their posterity.
Like you're saying.
And if it means something to them, then it'll provide value for the rest of their life.
You know what I'm thinking?
What's that?
Rob and I.
Wait, did you use the word thinking?
Yeah, thinking.
Wow,
Yeah.
never thought.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking? Rob and I, we want to go to the foundry.
Oh, heck
You want to
yeah.
go see where it's made, huh?
Like where they melt the
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I totally
That's a
wanna
good
see
idea.
that.
Let's go do that.
All
All
right,
right,
I'm all
so
over that.
until our next show at the foundry,
Wow, it's going to be fun.
and this is such a great day today here in your shop,
Thank you.
and
I've had fun.
you know how we close our show,
Sure.
right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Remember,
We love you. We truly do.
And we will see you at the foundry.